Thank you. All right, well, hey, for several weeks now, we have been journeying together through the sacred stories of Exodus. Stories that take us from slavery in Egypt through the wilderness and into our promised land. It is the story of our movement in consciousness from slavery to freedom, from freedom to fulfillment. It's not just some story about some ancient people, some ragtag Hebrews running around in the desert. It's not about ancient lands. It is our story. It is about our struggles, our breakthroughs, our spiritual evolution. Last week, we stood together at Jericho, the massive fortified city, representing our most significant challenge. That big, towering obstacle that seems impossible to overcome. And yet, with spiritual alignment and with obedience to the guidance that we receive through Spirit, through unwavering faith, those walls come tumbling down. Not by might, not by human strategy, but by spiritual surrender and attunement. And now, with Jericho behind us, our story continues. Our journey continues. We step further into our promised land. Not a place on a map, but a state of consciousness. A realm where divine ideas can flourish, where our soul can take root and grow, and where our freedom becomes fulfillment. But just then, just when we thought we had some momentum, strange things happen. We attempt to conquer some little task, some little thing. A small, insignificant little town named AI. Yeah, I know. I wanted to do so many things with artificial intelligence on this talk. I didn't, but the town's name is AI. That little town of Ai proved to be a greater challenge than the mighty Jericho. The people expected an easy win. After all, Jericho had fallen. What else could stand in our way? But instead, we are soundly defeated. Why? We find the answer in Joshua 7. It wasn't a strategy that failed us. It wasn't the strength of Ai. It was something hidden, something buried within our consciousness, within the camp where the people were. God had told the people not to take any loot, any plunder from Jericho. Everything should be put into the temple treasury and dedicated to God in celebration. But there was this guy Achan. Achan from the tribe of Judah disobeyed those instructions. He took a few things from Jericho to line his own pockets, and he hid them in his tent. Silver, gold, and the nice little detail, a beautiful Babylonian robe. It seems like kind of an odd detail for the story. God had made it clear everything in Jericho would be offered to the divine. But Achan pocketed some for himself. This wasn't just about gold or garments. Metaphysically, Achan represents a consciousness of greed. This hidden selfishness tries to hold on to what should be surrendered. And Achan buried that greed deep within his tent, his subconscious mind. We do that. We do that all the time. We hold back a piece of ourselves from spirit. We commit to love, but we hold on to our favorite resentment. We say we trust, but then we sweep a little fear under the rug and save it for later. We say we are generous, but then we keep a corner of our consciousness locked away just in case of a time of scarcity. Many of you know, it's one of the the best kept secrets. Many of you know I'm a recovering alcoholic with almost 24 years of sobriety. But I had been a truth student long before I realized that I needed to stop drinking. I finally realized that I needed to turn my whole life over to God. I was comfortable. I could turn my finances over to God. I could turn my relationships over to God. I could turn my work life over to God. But I was not about to give God control of my drinking. Yeah. You know, I can do that. I'll take care of that. Everything, I could handle my drinking myself, except that I couldn't. If I wanted lasting freedom from alcohol, I needed to turn my drinking over. I needed to turn everything else I was holding on to over to God as well. We hold on to thoughts and feelings that are not good to us or good for us. We hold on to parts of our consciousness that we would be much better off without. And when we bury greed or fear or selfishness deep within our consciousness, it throws off our entire energy. It blocks our progress. And we may not be able to see it immediately. We don't know what we don't know, and we are blind to what we most need sometimes. But our defeat at I informs us that we need to do something about this. Something's off. And in chapter 7, our leader Joshua turns to spirit to uncover the truth. And through spiritual discernment, Joshua goes through the ranks, and he first selects the tribe, and then followed by the tribe, he selects the clan, and then the household, and finally Achan. Achan is revealed. He's the culprit. How did they discover Achan? How did they find him out? What method did they use? Well, they might have used Urim and Thummim. 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 Urim and Thummim. Now, I didn't cover this when we discussed the law of Moses, but way back there in Exodus 28:30, there were some instructions regarding the Urim and Thummim. Scholars do not know for sure what Urim and Thummim is. Anybody who says they know for sure, they're trying to pull a fast one, either on you or on themselves. Scholars do not know for sure, but many of them believe that Urim and Thummim are some kind of sacred lots or dice that the high priest used for divine guidance and divination. You would pray, and then you would toss the dice, and it would reveal to you what you would need to do. Then there are many types of this kind of trying to figure out God's guidance. What is that? No, how do I know for sure? So Joshua or the high priest might have used Urim and Thummim or some other method for divine guidance. This process is symbolic of how our spiritual discernment works. When something in our lives is off, when it's just not flowing the way it should, when we've hit a stumbling block or a setback. Spirit guides us inward on a process of self-discovery, helping us to narrow in on the cause, on the source of our problems. We begin to peel back the layers of our consciousness, first tribe, then clan, then family, then household, until we find that buried thought, that inner Achan, hiding in the tent of our subconscious mind. We are never punished. We are not punished in the old-fashioned sense that somebody out there is doing something to us because of something we did. That's just not the way Spirit works. We are not punished in the old-fashioned sense, but we do face the consequences of holding on to what we should surrender. The only way forward is to bring it into the light, to release it, to forgive it, to let it go. One of my friends used to say that sunlight was the best disinfectant. When we let it go, we can move forward. Only then is this little town of I no longer an obstacle, but a victory. No longer a stumbling block, but a launching pad. I want to fast forward to one of the Bible's most poetic and curious stories about Joshua. In Joshua chapter 10, the Israelites are in battle with the Amorites. They are facing the tribe of the Amorites at Gibeon. And it is an intense, critical conflict. And in the middle of this battle, people are, going up against each other in this tremendous pitched battle. And Joshua cries out. He speaks the words, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and moon over the valleys of Ajalon." And the sun stood still, and the moon stopped until the nation was victorious over their enemies. And then a little aside, is this not written in the book of Jashur? Is this not written in the book of Jashur? Now we're going to get back to that book of Jashur in just a little bit. But what about this bit about the sun standing still? Anybody find that curious at all? Over the years, people have tried to take this part of the story literally. Even before the internet filled our lives with fake news and memes, there was a popular urban myth. I remember reading about this back in the 70s. A popular urban myth that NASA scientists had discovered a missing day in space. Does anybody remember this? NASA scientists had discovered a missing day in astronomical time, a missing day in space. One of the scientists then remembered this story in Joshua about the sun standing still, and they suggested that they had found Joshua's missing day. I'm very sorry to tell you, NASA has never discovered any such thing. It is all a complete urban myth. The sun stood still. It's a marvelous example of a literary style, a literary device that you find in the Bible. It's what's called poetic philosophy. And we use poetic philosophy language like this all the time. Oh, if only I could turn back time. Time and tide wait for no one. They say time is the fire in which we burn. Time is a circus, always packing up and moving away. And one of my favorites, time flies when you're having fun. Or if you're Kermit the Frog, time's fun when you're having flies. Metaphysically, Joshua represents spiritual leadership and divine order. Our Joshua within commands time itself to make room for the sacred task at hand. When my late wife, your former minister, worked for herself as she did for a number of years, her career was that she was a seamstress, and she worked for herself. And she always said that God was in charge of scheduling. You and I have no control over time. That's God's job. The message isn't that the sun stopped in the sky or that the moon froze in its orbit. The message is this: when we align ourselves with our divine purpose, we have all the time we need to do whatever it is that God calls us to do. Time becomes elastic. I've stepped into a couple of time warps. One time I took my dog for a 15-minute walk and we were gone for 2 hours. Where did that... But the other thing is that I knew that I'd be gone for a couple of hours, and it's only 1 o'clock? Gosh, I've fallen into a time warp. There is a timelessness to spiritual work. And when we immerse ourselves in our soul's calling, hours can feel like minutes. When we are out of alignment, minutes can feel like hours. Time does not control us. It is our consciousness that governs our experience of time. When we are spiritually grounded, time stretches so that what needs to be done gets done. And like Joshua, we can say, "Sun, stand still," because we know that with God, all things are possible. With God, nothing essential will ever be incomplete. And then there is that curious little line, "Is this not written in the book of Jashar?" The book of Jashar, also known as the Book of the Upright. I wonder if that's after an evening of drinking. The Book of Jashar is one of the so-called lost books of the Bible. And it's mentioned a few times in the Bible, but we don't have any copies today. It just doesn't exist anymore. Scholars think that it was a collection of heroic poems and songs. And these lost books that are mentioned in the Bible, there are several of them that just, the writer of the Bible will make a brief reference to some book that we don't have anymore. Sometimes someone will publish a modern work with a Bible-sounding name, and then they'll try to pass it off as one of these lost books. There is even a Book of Jashar. It was written in the 18th century, so it wasn't this Book of Jashar. Mentioning the Book of Jashar like this shows that the writer had a previous source. He wasn't just writing this down all from memory. He had things that he could go look up and check. And as we move through the rest of the book of Joshua, we read about the allocations and divisions of the promised land among the 12 tribes. There are 12 tribes of Israel, and according to their charter, each of these 12 tribes will get a portion of the promised land, a portion of the land. And within that process, there are some fascinating metaphysical details. For instance, the priestly tribe, Levi, that's the tribe of Moses and Aaron. The priestly tribe of Levi, they receive no land. Instead, they are given 48 cities scattered throughout the land. Why? Why? Because the Levitical tribe, the tribe of the Levites, represent our spiritual faculty, our inner priesthood. We are a kingdom of priests, a peculiar people, we're called. That priesthood does not claim a material territory. It holds sacred space. And it is distributed throughout the entire being, throughout our entire bodies, throughout our awareness, throughout our consciousness. It is not concentrated in any one place. Wherever we are, our spiritual faculty is available, and the voice of our inner teacher is always available. So the tribe of Levi gets no land, but the tribe of Joseph receives a double blessing. The tribe of Joseph, way back, we covered Joseph way before the Exodus. He had two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. And Ephraim and Manasseh become the heads of their own tribes. So now we are back to the division of land, 12 tribes, including the two half-tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, and then the tribe of Levi. 12 tribes, 12 divisions of the land. That's getting back. We've discussed the metaphysics of 12, that the completion, the aspects of our consciousness. So the tribe of Levi gets no land. Ephraim and Manasseh becoming two tribes. This reminds us that spiritual fruitfulness grows. It expands. Divine blessings do not divide. They multiply. Our spiritual inheritance is not geography. It is not land. It is our spiritual qualities or faculties of faith, wisdom, love, and order, of discernment. And it is how we allocate these territories to our daily experiences. What thoughts are we letting rule our lives? What feelings are occupying the gates of our heart? As we take hold of our promised land, our task is to claim, to organize, and to dedicate this land to its highest purpose. And as we come to the end of the book, Joshua is now aged and wise, and he gathers the people one last time, and he recounts the story of deliverance. He recounts the story so far, from Abraham into Egypt, from the wilderness to the land of promise. He reminds the people that it was the hand of God and not their own strength that brought them through. And then one of the most powerful moments in all of Scripture. Joshua says, "Now therefore, revere the Lord and serve in sincerity and faithfulness. Choose this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord." Choose this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Joshua 24, 14 through 15. And by the way, this little candle over here has that quote, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." That candle holder was a gift from from Unity World headquarters when this church received its consecration. Friends, we are always choosing. With every thought we think, With every word we speak, with every action we take, we make decisions. We make choices. We make a choice between fear and faith, separation and oneness, ego and spirit. Joshua's words are not just ancient echoes, they are present-day challenges. Choose this day whom you will serve. Choose again. Choose anew. Change your mind. You change your life. You don't have to wait for perfect circumstances. We don't have to wait to have it all figured out. We just need to choose. We need to make a choice and align our hearts with love, life, and truth. As for me and my house, as for me and my inner consciousness, my thoughts, my feelings, my words, my deeds, we will serve the Lord. Our hearts and minds know this truth. And may we commit again and again and again to uncovering and releasing whatever Achan we might be hiding in our tent. We might stretch into a timelessness of spiritual purpose and complete the tasks that we have been called to do. May we occupy our inner promised land with love, with order, with wisdom, and may we live boldly, saying, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And God bless you all. Okay. This is our opportunity, yours and mine, to pour out the gift of God from within us through our tithes and our love offerings. And can we share this offertory blessing together? Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. Thank you, God. And you can send your gifts, your tithes, your love offerings to paypal.me/UnityLincoln. That's paypal.me/UnityLincoln. Or you can send your gifts through the mail or a bank transfer by sending them to Unity Lincoln, P.O. Box 30209, Lincoln, Nebraska 68503. Or use this QR code right here to go to PayPal. And remember to like us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. And give and God gives it back to you. Give and God gives it back to you. Give and God gives it back to you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, packing good measure. God gives it back to you. Sing it over, give and God gives it back to you. Give and God gives it back to you. Give and God gives it back to you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, back in good measure. God gives it back to you. Scooby-Dooby-Dooby-Dooby-Doo. Hey, and let us share this affirmation for our church family. Together, Unity Lincoln is blessed to draw the people, funds, and all that is required for the health and growth of our community and peace in the world, heart to heart. And today,